This is a story on how I made my very first visual novel game with no engine, not even RenPy, no experience in this field, and in just a weekend. Last Friday I woke up in the morning and realized it was Friday 13, and I was like, oh, it would be very nice if I could make an horror game or something like that. But then I realized that I had a lot of work to do and I would not really have time to do a game like this. It would require an entire weekend. But this idea was stuck in my mind, and while I was working in the morning I kept thinking, what is the most horrifying thing that I could use to create an horror game for this Friday? And I'm not talking about religion here in this channel, but I'm a Christian, and one of the things that came to my mind is the rapture, and basically the people that was left behind the rapture. And without going too much into details, because this is not the main subject of the video, I was like, whoa, this could be a very decent video game actually. But again, it will take forever to make a fully fledged 3D game. But the idea was still solid, and I really wanted to make this a reality somehow. And then I remembered the visual novel style. Well, I'm not much of a visual novel fan. I never actually really made one of this game before, and I don't have much experience playing. I'm kind of that type of player that used to skip all the cutscenes and the dialogues and don't read anything in a video game, so not much my genre. But well, this is a story, I really wanted to share this, and I started to briefly do some research while I was working during the Friday, and then I realized that a visual novel is pretty much like a book, but you see stuff going on in front of you. You see the images, you see the backgrounds, the characters, and you can explore the characters, you can have decisions, branches, and have the story to take you into different roads based on your decisions. And this is an entire new world. It's like a book, but on steroids, and I found this very interesting, and I was like, okay, maybe I should give it a try, right? And I even discovered during my research that there is visual novels with no branching at all, so you literally just read the story, click next, and go with this same approach until the end of the game. Oh, let me know in the comments if you ever played a game like that. Anyways, I kind of wanted to tell my story, but instead of a book, again, make it into a fully fledged video game with images and all that to illustrate the point, so that could be very interesting. And of course, add some branches, because I'm pretty sure that this is a story that many people would have different reactions and different questions about it, so I decided to incorporate that into a video game. So this is why I've made a game during this last weekend called A Message to the Left Behind. And now you know left behind what, right? But I don't want to spoil anything in this game, so what I've decided to do in this video, since this is a video and this is a channel about game development and game engine development, is to talk a little bit about how I made this game, and most importantly, why I decided to go with no engine at all. So I will discuss this and I will show you the technology I made, and just a spoiler, it was very easy to do something like that. So this is one of the main reasons why I decided to go against RenPy or something like that. And if you're curious, it took me about 3 hours to create the entire engine that this game is running, and I'll explore it a little bit very shortly in this video. So stay tuned, because you will learn something here, hopefully. And before I continue, the game is free to play and it's playable in the browser, so you can play on your computer or on your phone if you don't feel like going to the computer. So the link is here in the description. It's very short, it's about like 10 to 15 minutes, and I'm pretty sure that you will learn something and learn about this message. It will be very nice, so make sure to check it out. So now let's jump to the computer, to my screen, to see how I made this. So I'm here with the game open, and I want to quickly go through a visual novel and everything that this game have for you to start understanding the technical aspect of the game. So then I'll go ahead and show you the technology behind that I had to create to make this thing a reality. But basically, I wanted to tell a story in a very simplistic way. I did not want it to do anything fancy or complicated, or did not want it to make like 2D animations or 3D worlds. I just wanted this, like a background that I could move and I could change. And by the way, the original game, let me see if I can restore the background, 1 second. Here you go. The original version of the game even had like a moving background. I don't know if you can see it, but I had to remove it because I wanted to export to web, and I'll explain why I had to remove it. Anyways, so I wanted the background, I wanted the character, I want dialogues to happen, and of course have you to have branches to go to different directions of the story. So this is pretty much how I wanted to tell everything. I also wanted audio, like an ambient audio and some special effects like doors, footsteps, and all that. And of course, a cool audio when the text is being typed here in the bottom. So let me increase the volume. So I wanted to do this, and this was pretty much my requirements for this game, for me to tell my story. The focus here would really be the story and the plot, the message for the left behind. Literally, this is the message, like this entire game would be the message, and I think it's pretty interesting for everyone to watch and to play, actually, to read, go through this and ask the questions and have the answers and understand the message. It's pretty cool. Anyways, and this was also a great opportunity to create something like that. And the thing is, and I will start by the most asked question that I know that you guys will be asking, which is like, why you're not using RenPy? Because it's like an existing engine. There's a lot of Steam games made using RenPy. Basically, I have like a philosophy that a lot of stuff in video games, especially 2D, it's so simple that you don't really need an engine for that. You can do it yourself with little to no effort. And sometimes the time that you spend learning the engine will be more than the time that you will be spending creating the actual engine part of the thing. You know, of course, if you have some experience with code, if you have zero experience, it's a completely different thing. But in my case, I do this for a living. I do have a game development company. We do have Cave Engine, and we do have experience with engines, so it's different for me. And to make this, honestly, this was my requirement. It was not a lot of stuff, so I basically it took me like 3 hours, as I said in the beginning of this video, to create the entire code, to render this. And the main thing here in a visual novel is because the way you create a game, and I had to study a little bit to do this in the best way possible, is not exactly in a game engine like we are used to. It's not like I can open Cave, for example, this is Cave Engine or Game Engine, and I can open like a project. Let me see a simple project like this game here, and start creating stuff in an editor. So this is for a 3D game, right? So this is very advanced stuff with user interface. I don't remember how to turn off. Anyways, you get the idea. So this is not something that you really need for a visual novel game. You don't need interfaces like that. You don't need a fancy editor with anything like that. You're basically writing text, right? And of course, you are creating the art and all that and the sounds, but this is in a different environment, a different engine, a different software, sorry. So most of the time you're creating text. So you need to favor text creation. You need to favor you typing in a computer. So you need to basically create the engine around typing. So there was this aspect, and I will show you how this game's source code looks like in a moment. But notice that it's not hard to create something like that. It's not hard to create a technology to render this. So you can see there's a change in backgrounds. The character do have animation and all that. It supports different characters. So a new character will appear right now. So this is Mr. Calder, an old woman. Anyways, so I'm not gonna spoil much the story. This was made using Python and Pygame. So this entire window here uses Pygame, and it is like resolution agnostic. So you can see here, I could really play this game, except for the crazy background here, but I removed that anyways, in a mobile. And you can see, oh, there's some clipping text, by the way, in a mobile. But anyways, it was supposed to be resolution independent, so this is very nice. What's made, again, using Pygame, and I'll close this and explore a little bit. So the core of the game is basically the data behind this. And it's very different, by the way. So I do have a folder for my images, a folder for my sounds, and in the images folder, I can store all my characters. Oh, this is probably spoilers, but let me go ahead and... Sorry for the spoilers, folks. But anyways, so this is a background, and I store it here. And then the same thing goes for the sounds here. So I do have all my sound effects, the backgrounds, the stuff, the typing sounds that are displayed and all that. The knock door, so when you knock a door, anyways, I do have this. So this is the raw data for this, and this is the scripts, and I'll talk about this in a moment. all the scripts here composes the game, and I decided to make the engine split all this anyways. And I do have, as part of the engine, a script here, which is a game optimizer that will pretty much go ahead into all the sounds and all the images, and it used to go also to all the scripts and figure out like all the images and sounds that the game is using and remove the others, but it's not doing this anymore at the moment, but it was something that at some point it was doing. So the game optimizer will go ahead here and get all these raw images and raw audios and convert into a final game format for me to export to web. And then I have like I'm using pygBag to export. I have the command here saved, but by the way, if you go to my itch.io account, you can find a tutorial on how to export Pygame games to web. It's very, very easy, so I'm not going to go into any details here in this video, but it's easy to do. Anyways, and this is pretty much how a game with no engine works, by the way, if you're curious. So I do have here the engine itself. Oops. This is the entire source code, the entire, literally everything that the game needs to run all the sounds, the images, and all that based on the script. So this is the engine. And this will be the same if I'm creating like 10 different visual novel games. It will be the same engine. And the game itself, which is the main, the only responsibility of this main file, as funny as it is to pretty much like, this is anyways, quote unquote, quote, my engine. So I just import it. It doesn't not even have a name because it's, I don't know. Let me know in the comments how should I name this visual novel engine. Anyways, it creates a window with the name left behind. Oh, I forgot to rename it, but it's a web game anyway, so it's not gonna appear. And then it creates a game, which is different from the window for some reason. It had some debug stuff that is commented out, and it pretty much runs the update game using this window.run. And by the way, this is not the most elegant solution for any game engine or framework or anything like that, but I just created all that in 3 hours and that's it, and I never touched it again. And by the way, this is not something that I'm planning to release like Cave. Like maybe, who knows in the future if this is something else, but for now I just want to use for my own game. So this is why I don't care much about how the API looks like and anything like that. I'll probably maybe very soon make this even shorter. Anyways, so this is literally the game itself. Like the codes that you need to create a game is pretty much this, so it's nothing. And because the engine works, like it makes the game reality by reading the scripts, and the script, this is where the magic happens. So I could go through all the scripts here, but it will be better if I show you the sample script, which is pretty much how to use this thing. And I do have a sample script. So this is pretty much how a game will look like. Oh, actually, let me go ahead to chapter 1 for the game itself, for you to see. So it's pretty much text, you can see here. So this is text, 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 and all that. And this is all defined by this T here, this prefix. And I can type text, and I can also do this. It's the same thing. The engine will recognize everything. But in my mind, T makes more sense. And this is very similar to RenPy, by the way. Yes, I did take a look on RenPy, and I was like, oh, they use like their own markup language or an entire language. I'm not sure if it's just markup, but I thought this very interesting and I decided to make my own. So this is a custom language. Very simple, by the way. It's more like a markup language than it is like a programming language. You cannot have like variables and all that here because I did not needed that for this game. So just branches. Where's a branch? Let me go to branch. You can see here that I have a branch and I have like 2 options, and each options go to another label. And this label is pretty much how assembly works. So you can have a label, can create a label here, and then in the code, anywhere in the code, I can literally go to chapter 2. So if I do this right now, and I play the game, I'm actually on chapter 1. Let's actually go to chapter 2 after the first line. You will see that the game, so this is the title. First line, I click, and it goes to chapter 2, the leftovers. So this is literally how it works. And by the way, yes, I can run this, and it's already the chapter 2. So And in chapter 2, by the way, it does have like a fade of 5 seconds that I can interrupt by clicking, saying chapter 2, the leftovers. So very simple stuff. Anyways, and if I want, I can do other fades here. I think I have a fade here for chapter 1. No, I don't have it. But I'm pretty much writing the text here and defining what is the character that is appearing as the speaker of this text. I can change the mood, and the mood, by the way, is something that I implemented in the engine, thinking that I would use it, but in the end, man, it takes a lot of time to create the art for this game, and I'll talk about the art in a moment. I'm not sure if you all will love what I did for the art for this game. If you want to know, stay in this video because I'll talk about it in a moment. But I ended up not using the mood other than the default mood for every character because it will require generating more art. But if I had more art, I could like have a protagonist with the default mood, and then what is going on for this line? I could literally do mood, I don't know, scary. And then if I had like a sprite for this for this character, it will change the mood and all that. So I could do this, very simple stuff. So this is pretty much how I create the stories of the game. And again, I do have branches and I can branch out to different places in the story. So this game is perfect. This engine is like perfect if you're starting here and then you go ahead and then you have a branch and you have two different storylines, and then maybe you have another branch here with more storyline and all that, and maybe eventually those branches, they will like merge into one and go back, and maybe this one goes to another branch, and maybe there's like two endings in this game and this merge into this branch, and I have like this two endings for a game. You can do this. I'm not sure if this was clear, but this is a path anyways. And then the player, if someone plays a game, it can go to this path here, like this. It can go to this path right here, or it can go to this path right here. You get the idea, right? So it's pretty much it. So the engine supports this, and let's understand a little bit on everything that I have here in the script. So I can create labels, I can change the background, and this is literally the background image name. I can play a music, and this is used to play music or ambient sound, anything like that. A music will be played like only one track at a time, and it will play forever in a loop. So this is a music. I can define typing sounds. So I have like typing 1, 2, and if you go to the sounds here, you can see that I probably have like 7 different typing sounds, and the engine will go ahead and randomly play them with random volumes and all that. I can set alias to the name of the characters, so this is very useful. I'll talk about that in a moment. I can set a title that will appear as a title screen, and of course I can specify the character A, and of course I have the character B that goes to the right side of the screen. Specify mood, play a sound, I can fade again, and I can add dialogues. So it's literally it. Oh, I can use go to go to another, you can see go to start, I can use go to, or I can branch for the user to decide between two different options, and based on the decision it will go to different labels here, and this is how the story goes on and on and on. So this is pretty much the language that I had to create this this engine. And I said that I would talk about the alias in a moment. So basically here in the setup, oh, by the way, how this is structured, you can create any script you want. So I just created a test.script, and I can create a label test, and I can start writing here, right? Hello world. I can do stuff like that. And then I can go to text test, and this will go forever and say hello world, hello world, hello world. Anyways, and the engine will go ahead and parse all the scripts and merge them into a single one, just like assembly, by the way. Assembly kind of does that, but the engine will look for a start label, and it will start over there. So this is why I have like a setup, and the setup for this game is pretty much to define all the alias. So the protagonist, which is the name that I call internally, is you externally. So if I play the game, if you remember, oops, if I play the game, it will show the title, And the title is here in the end, a message to the left behind, by the way. And you can see you. So internally, this guy is protagonist, but for you is you. So this is done by the alias. And I can do old woman is Mr. Calder, and now that is spoilers. So I can see here all the typings, the title, and then it goes to the chapter 1, which is the beginning of the story. So very simple stuff. And to wrap it up, so this is pretty much how I did this, very simple. And to wrap it up about the images, I did all the story myself, I did the engine myself, and it's kind of funny because many people, don't use the they don't create the engine themselves, but they create the art themselves. And I did a little bit of a different road here because I created the engine myself, I created all the story myself, and all the sounds as well. I had to look up all the sounds online. I did not create most of them myself, but some of them I created, like the knock door, and some others here. I don't remember the footsteps, I don't remember, but anyways, the door open, I'm pretty sure that I created this myself, like literally recording the audio with a microphone and then editing. And the others here, like the wind and all that, I actually had to edit the audios that I downloaded from the internet, very standard stuff to create what I was looking for. But for the images, I knew that I would need a lot of images, and I did not have time because in my mind I could create this game in like 5 hours, and it ended up taking the entire weekend. So yes, don't hate me, but I used AI to create the images. So the images, this is all AI generated. I did have to treat a bunch of these images because they were like very bad. Some of them, I remember this teen girl. It's not a spoiler. Like the AI generated her with like half of the face missing. So the images was originally this. So I did have to work like the colors and change everything. And also I had to go to Photoshop and manually create the other part of the character. I had to do this. So this is an example. And there's another thing, like this old woman. AI did a terrible job creating the alpha mask. So for many other characters, actually, I had to create the alpha myself and treat the colors. I had to change here the borders and all that. So there was some work involved in the art, but most of it was generated by AI. So don't hate me, but in my mind, again, I wanted to create this in like 5 hours and ended up taking the entire weekend. So yeah, there's this as well. But anyways, this is pretty much the game. And the final thing that I wanted to talk briefly is about exporting it to web, because I knew that this was a short game and the main idea here is to deliver the message to the left behind, literally the name of the game. I wanted you to be able to play with no effort at all. So I wanted to create a web game, like a browser game that you could play in your phone or stuff like that. So I did not want to create anything heavy or fancy. So this is probably one of the reasons why I decided to go with Pygame, because I knew that it was easy to create the engine itself and it was easy to export it to web using PyGBag as well. But I still had problems, so I just wanted to mention that I was having a lot of problems with the audio of the build, of the web build. It was like going crazy. And after a lot of debugging, I realized that I was using a very old version of PyGBag. It was like 0.7, and right now it's like 0.9 something. So I just had to update PyGBag, but it's worth mentioning this because I lost a good day, literally, because of this. So yeah, don't always update your stuff. This is lesson learned for this. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you're here in the end of the video, I just wanted to show a little bit of a bonus because you're here. So I will literally show you how many lines of code the engine have here, because some of you may be curious. And in the end, this is the entire engine to run the game. I'm not gonna go through the entire engine because there's a lot of sketchy stuff probably here, but it does have 500 lines of code. So this is literally what it took to create the game. And by the way, I want to encourage everyone to not always rely on existing technology. Like I could use RenPy, but I will probably gonna take like 3 to 5 hours to learn it, and I actually took like 3 hours to create entire engine. And the difference here is that now I have my own stuff. I can expand it whatever I want, and I can think differently. So this is one thing that I really like, is that when you see a problem that people already have solved, try to reinvent it sometime. Try to permit yourself to reinvent the wheel sometimes, because maybe, and only maybe, like 99% of the time, you will fail at reinventing the wheel. So you will create a bad wheel and not a good wheel, and it will not going to be worth working on it, and it will be a waste of your time. This is 99% of the time. So if you start reinventing the wheel 100 times, 99 of those times will be a waste of time. But 1% of the time, it will be cool. Like Cave Engine, my engine. It was reinventing the wheel for 9 years, and now it's a cool product and that people love, and people are using it, and people are creating games, and people are sharing it, and the engine is evolving. So this is cool. So I encourage everyone to try this. And remember, 99% of the time it will be bad, but 1% of the time it will be worth it. And this 1%, it will be better than the 99% of the failure attempts. So I will end this video by, of course, first, please subscribe to this channel. If you're here, come on, man, you watched the entire video. There's nothing much different here in this channel other than this content. So make sure to subscribe because you already like this, because you watched. Anyways, and the second thing is, I encourage you, what is one thing right now that you're using an existing technology, but maybe if you sit down for a day or maybe a weekend, you could do it yourself? And what if you try it? Again, it may not be worth it. 99% of the time, it will not, but maybe this is worth. So my name is William. Make sure you check out a message to the left behind. It is in the description, and I see you in the next video.